My name is Dr. Jane Goldberg. Welcome to my show, Musings from 20th Street. I am a psychoanalyst and I am the owner of La Casa de Spa on 20th Street. So I thought I would talk a little about why my patients come to me for the most part. They come because they have an unendurable and what they consider to be abnormal amount of hatred for the people that they love. Of course, Freud was a drive theorist. I've talked about that in the past, and so he emphasized the two drives, eros and thanatos is aggression. So as what is known in psychoanalytic circles today as a modern psychoanalyst, I emphasize a lot on aggression, as did my mentor, Hyman Spotnitz. In the 1970s, a researcher named Paul MacLean actually outlined the basic and essential neural circuitry of the brain. And he found that aggression is actually implanted, hardwired into our brain. So I think that confirms Freud's theory of dual drive, that this aggression is just in us and there's no getting around it. And so what's interesting to me in terms of my work with my patients is that if we share, MacLean showed that part of our brain is derivative from the reptilian and the mammalian brain, the old brains that still exist today in animals. And then, of course, on top of that is what makes us distinctly human, which is the neocortex. And the reptilian and the mammalian brains are the brains where we have instinct and all of the stuff that just we do automatically without conscious control, without conscious thought. It's our reflexive part of ourselves, and it embodies bonding and aggression and hate and murder and love. And then the neocortex, of course, is the part of the brain that is capable of reason. So if all of this stuff, this energy around bonding and aggression and wanting to kill and wanting to love and wanting to be loved and wanting to be killed even maybe, if it all resides in the older part of the brain, the mammalian brain, and on top of that lies the neocortex, which is the brain that's capable of reason, how do the brains talk to each other? And this was the essential question that Spotnitz asked. How is it that you make, as a healing practitioner, how do you make an intervention to somebody about all of this junk that's arising from the old brain, the animal brain, the brain that I share with my little dog Lily, who bites practically everybody that comes into my apartment. She's only this big, so she doesn't get, real pit bull bites. She gets little toy poodle bites. But what is my question? How do we, as healing practitioners, make interventions to that irrational, unreasonable brain? And what Spotnitz felt was that you can't. The only way that you can talk to that brain is through emotional communication. So basically, if you try to reason your way out of the next guy trying to declare war on you, it's going to be doomed to failure. We just can't use reason to accomplish everything. So having said that, as my intro, let's see how all of that plays out today in what is the 8th group session. Let's see how we can love and hate each other and how reason can come into play or not to temper our feelings and to give us better understanding of why we're having our feelings. So what do you think, group? Where are we today?
Weren't you going to talk about your weight?
No.
That's what you weight.
That's fair. No, I have other issues besides that I probably
Well,
rather talk about.
can I ask you a question about your weight? Because I have a theory about this, okay?
Okay.
Because I told you I cook for some people on a diet now and they're
Yeah,
losing
yeah.
weight, okay? And because I eat everything, okay? And I believe people who hold on, people who are overweight, hold on to a lot of things in their lives. Like maybe you are a junk collector. If you look around your house, maybe you need to be feng shuied. Maybe you're holding on to old emotions. You're holding on to something, and that's why you're holding on to your weight. That's my theory.
Great.
So, do you agree with me?
No, you are right. what I was going to talk about kind of goes there, and you're right. She's analyzed me.
She's doing a better job than I am. Oh dear.
Nobody does it.
Lonnie, want to change seats?
Anyway, 3 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago now, my life as I knew it stopped. I was a mother of 5. They all grew up and went away. I had this big house. All of a sudden, I didn't need it. I loved it, enjoyed living there, but I didn't need it. And, you know, it was silly to keep it. I owned a hair salon, had clients of 20 years, many clients of 20 years and more, and their whole families, and new clients, old clients, friends, all established this life. Well, then I got this idea, a harebrained idea, to move to New York. I'd always wanted to move to New York. My kids were gone. There was no reason I couldn't do that. And my clients and friends all said, "Oh my God, you're so brave. I can never do anything like that." And I didn't look at it as brave at all. I just thought, well, I'm done with this part. I need to move on, you know? So 3 of my 5 daughters were here in the city, and I thought, well, I'll move to New York. Then I went to visit a different daughter in San Francisco, fell in love with San Francisco. At the last month, before I was supposed to move to New York, I moved to San Francisco instead. And it's my favorite city in the country. I love it. I love to travel anyway. It was such an adventure.
It
I
is
love
nice.
San
It is
Francisco.
nice.
I loved working there. I loved the people there. But I didn't have clients. I didn't have friends. I didn't have a home. I didn't have a car anymore. My daughter said, "Oh, you don't want to bring a car. You know, you can't even afford to park it." So I thought, okay. So I sold everything that I owned and moved out to California, got an apartment, furnished it, and started over again. I was depressed for a year and a half.
Sure.
I didn't have shit the way that I'm used to it, you know? And so then all my kids ended up in New York, and the one in San Francisco and her husband moved to Amsterdam for a semester. And I was out there by myself, and the ones here started having babies, and I thought, oh, I should have moved to New York. So I did. So I uprooted everything. I had a few friends that I really enjoyed there, and I had a few clients gathered together, and I had a little bit of a life started. And by then I hated to leave San Francisco, but then I came here. And the thing that I love about New York, besides how cool the city is just that I'm near my family, my daughters. And I don't even see them that much. You know, I see each one of them maybe once a week, if that. One of them I don't even see maybe once a month. But anyway, I am in close proximity, and I don't know how long this window of opportunity will be that we're all here, but I wanted to take advantage of that. So now I find myself again trying to find the right salon to work in, trying to find a handful of clients that enjoy my work, that I enjoy doing their work. You know, carving out a whole new life, and it is so hard. I think my clients were so smart when they said, "Oh my God, you're so brave," and I said, I couldn't even relate to that. But now that I have moved twice in the last 4 years, it's really hard.
Yes, it is.
So you think this has direct relationship to your weight problem?
Yes and no. Every time Oprah got fat, I was fat. Every time she got thin, I was thin.
And a
It just
client told me
happened.
that last night. That's so weird.
Yeah,
She said the same thing.
it's so weird. But anyway, it's like my mother was fat, and some of my sisters were fat, and at times I have not been fat. Most of the time I've been fat, not this fat. But anyway, most of the time I'm up and down, up and down. And a few years ago, when I'd come here and visit, I was much thinner, like 60 pounds thinner. And I kept that wardrobe because it's beautiful and colorful and orange. And when you were saying, I don't know who said it to who here. Somebody said to Barb, you know, you're colorful. I see, you know, you look
You did.
beautiful in turquoise. Turquoise is my color. So is orange. I don't do that anymore. So I think I am hanging on to stuff.
You're hanging on to your past.
You know, I have the feeling that as a mother of 5, you've been very successful as a person, and I don't think your identity should be tied up with your weight. I think you're more than being a few pounds overweight.
Oh, I don't argue. I'm a good
Yeah,
woman.
so I think, you know, I have the feeling, I don't agree with this Freudian analysis all the time, because I know Freud wrote the Thanatos instinct after World War One, and I don't think he was politically astute to talk about capitalism and greed and whatever, and so he resorted to the instinct theory. And I'm kind of old-fashioned. I go back to what was called the support groups. So I'd like to see ourselves being more supportive of one another. I don't think necessarily we have to perceive everything as aggression. I like the word supportive group. I mean, I like to feel I'm part of a support group. That's an old, I don't know if that word's used anymore. but
We were
it's-
told that this wasn't a support group.
Well, I must have missed that.
By
Yeah,
Jan.
you missed
We
that.
were
We were-
told
we
it's
were-
not a
yes.
support group?
No,
Huh?
This
No,
is not a
not a
support
support
group.
What
What
is
is
it?
it?
All right.
It's a group of people talking about communication and trying to figure out how to
So
communicate
how
with
do
each
you-
other, and
how do
but
you-
not necessarily a support
Yeah,
group.
but how do you
about
define
issues.
what that is? I mean, that's a highly interpretive
I think there's going to be some support
diagnosis. Huh?
going on through the process, but it's not necessarily.
Well, I missed a lot
meant to
in
be
the
a support
first,
group.
first meetings, because
I run analytic groups, and
Yeah.
the reason why I don't run support groups is because I think it leaves out pretty much half of who the human being is
Yeah.
if your only interest is
Mhm.
in supporting the ego.
Totally.
Then you're leaving out the unconscious, and you're leaving out the instincts that do arise
I
from
I
our
hear what you're
aggressive.
saying, and I'm enough in agreement with Freud's theory to see that. But also in terms of hostility, I'm well aware of the phenomenon of transference, that people not instinctively in their brain have a instinct for aggression, but they're transferring unconsciously their feelings of past relationships onto somebody in the group in the here and now.
Right.
So the
That's
word,
okay.
I would describe, I'm an adherent to transference as an unconscious process to explain hostility, but I find myself wanting to say to Carol that she's okay.
Yeah,
Of course,
Carol,
she's-
I was
she's
really
great.
touched by what you said about moving and being uprooted, and I could see how much it affects you, and I think that's a traumatic thing. I did that too a while ago, but I really would like to ask this group something to help me. Now that when holidays come around, it's very difficult for me because people ask me, where's your family? And I've gotten to the point where I say I'm an orphan, I have none. Because if I say, well, they don't speak to me, they haven't spoken to me for 17 years, and I've made it very clear that this is a way that they want to be, that people will say, well, what did you do? What could you have done? And as I've been seeing how people, you have your daughters, and no matter what your daughters would do or say, you love your daughters. So, and this is another thing I think I've come to understand about abuse, which I think I must say, the moment abuse or the time that the abuse occurs, the moment of the abuse can go on for years afterward. These people kind of collected together and I really feel that they would want me dead. When my girlfriend called my mother after 9/11 because I was living down there, she hung up the phone. I don't give a shit. My girlfriend couldn't believe it. My brothers, of which I have 3 brothers, who all have wives and children, I don't know what they tell them about me. Their wives don't even say, well, when my husband has a trouble with his sister, I said to him, you call your sister. You resolve this. It's like they're in a whole, systematically have done this to me. And if I had not reached out to groups like this, church, which was huge for me, I just would like you to just say what you think about that. It's
Well,
such an anomaly.
Are you feeling sad because it's the holidays now?
No, I don't. I'm not feeling sad because it's the holidays. I'm just feeling like I'm in a freakish situation. There's nobody I know that has this situation. Okay. And
There are-
I just want to hear if you know people
There are
who've been
millions
cut
of
off
people.
like this.
There are
And how
millions
they,
of people.
how
I think you've come across really well because I saw you the first week and the second week and throughout this, and you're an artist, you're a writer. You said you're married, you're with a partner now. You talked about your drug abuse and so forth. I think you've pulled through really, really,
Thank you.
really well.
Thank
You
you.
come across like a really together person. To me, you do.
Thank you.
But I can see, maybe because I have this radar, or I don't know what I have, I can see inside of you this pain.
Oh, it's awful.
But maybe you could volunteer some of your time to be with other people like that, and maybe you could understand that, especially maybe around the
I'm
holiday
hoping
time.
to hear from other people like that.
I think she needs like volunteer. You
Yeah,
mean
like volunteer your
that kind of
time.
thing.
Right,
to
right.
That
help
kind of
other people that was in that
Yeah.
same
Some
situation.
people that you know,
Especially the holidays time gets everybody crazy, especially people who don't have a lot of family. I mean, for me, I love Thanksgiving. It's my biggest holiday. This time I'm going, well, who am I going to invite? Like, I don't even have a lot of people to invite this year, and it used to be a really big group thing in my house. But I'm not going to get depressed about it. I might just go out and do something great. Maybe I'll go out and help some people
Right,
who need some
right.
help doing something.
That helps.
And you were gonna say?
I was going to say I'm in the exact same position, and I have been because I was born to a woman who wanted only to destroy me. And she turned my entire family, my siblings, everybody against me for her reasons, which I found out in therapy. And I've been alone, and I had a half-brother and a half-sister younger, and everybody picked up her
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
everybody picked up her style and pushed me out of their lives. Once in a while, I'd get an invitation to come over. Then they'd push me out. I felt like a damn yo-yo. And then some years ago, I wrote my brother an email, and this went on with my children too. My mother got a hold of my son and turned him against me. And all I can say is screw you, because she's dead and I'm here. And I have become a little misanthropic, and that's okay too, because I don't want everybody hanging around my neck. And I have spent every holiday alone for many, many, many years. And you know what? I love myself. I love my company. I don't argue with myself. I'm always right. I do so many things that are so great that I can't get over myself. And I mean,
Right, right.
Cool.
But what I think, Lana, the pain that I'm talking about is that act of shunning. Villages used to do it. Remember when if you were a bad person in the village, then they wouldn't speak to you? And people go crazy from that. People die from that. To know that if I was in the street right now, and I had an emergency, or I was sick, I needed some help, that the last people that I could possibly go to were those people, including their wives, their children, that this was such a conscious effort. What can I say? Someone wants you dead.
Don't
They
you ever
would just
get
want you
angry
dead.
at
They
them?
want you destroyed.
destroyed, right?
Don't you ever get angry at them?
Yeah, but yeah, I've gone through the anger stages and stuff. Like you said, it's
Okay, what do you think you know about them that they want to invalidate?
well that there was there was abuse going on
Right.
on a regular basis.
From whom to whom?
From my middle brother to me, from my mother to me,
And they
from
took up for him.
and
They
this man actually teaches at a university, and what does he teach? Social work.
Yeah.
Why
So
don't
they
you bust
were in
them?
denial about it, and they wrote you off to protect the secret.
Yeah, and if I've ever called them, like once in a blue moon, I'll try to call somebody. I'll have a couple drinks and try to call somebody. And the fear that I hear in their voice,
So they're protecting the secret,
yes.
right?
And I am the secret, I guess.
Yeah, you're the reality of what happened. And they're enablers to your brother. Is that the same
Yes,
brother?
Yes,
That's the same brother that went to the music department
right,
and
yes.
talked behind your
Yeah, the
back?
journalist, yeah.
Have you ever written him a letter or communicated to him?
No, I haven't,
That's one. I should share with y'all that I married a woman who deceived me. Number one, she told me she was a psychologist and she was a social worker and studied with military sociologists. She told me she was against the Vietnam War, and Now my daughter's in Iraq after 16 years of marriage. But the point is that she also, I believe, deceived me, that she was sexually and physically abused by her father. And so the entire marriage was spent allegedly to help her heal. And she asked me to make a documentary film about her coming out with her friends to talk about this. So I've lived the nightmare, which has gone full circle. So she's moved back to Chicago, and I was her third husband. They're my 3 children. But then she married a 4th guy. But the point is that it's a whole charade, because she made believe she was coming out against her father. But by my being the filmmaker, she has plausible deniability, because his whole excuse is that I'm a filmmaker and I manipulated her to talk against her father. And her mother went along with it, as usually is the case. So now I'm totally ostracized, and she's back in Chicago having sway by getting my 3 children not to talk to me. And that exonerates her father, because she can say, see, Paul's children don't talk to him. It must be true.
Yeah, but I used to wonder, like you said, am I that awful?
No,
Somebody wouldn't want to speak to
It
me.
isn't.
because
no,
you're the truth.
It has
You're the
nothing to
truth.
do with you.
They're covering up,
I
they're
mean,
protecting
and I
the
went for a lot of years thinking there must be something wrong with me. And I would see people, serial killers have mothers, and you're visiting them in the prison.
Why don't you
Right?
write a story about it? Because you're
Right.
a writer. Why don't you publish a book?
I am.
Right.
Publish a book.
I
That'll
used
be
to
your
write for
healing.
therapy.
Call their names and bust them. That's what I
There are
would do.
millions of people, they say that 1 out of 3 women, maybe 1 out of 5 men are molested probably within the family. And this pattern is out there, and they defend, the mother's the secondary abuser usually, goes along with usually the father, or with a brother. It's just a horrible, nightmarish thing, but you're not the only one. You're the victim because you carry the truth, and they're protecting the lie. And I mean, I'm living that same nightmare. She's seeing her father now, and it's, the excuse is, see, it must have been a lie because Paul's children know. There is a documentary
you.
film, To Protect Others. Maybe you can even certainly write about it. But I think maybe Jane would agree, you get into trouble when you go into denial. And Freud's theory, Jane, I think is off, because upper class women of his friends were being molested by their fathers, and he turned it into some Oedipal fantasy wish of wanting to possess the opposite sex parent. You know that criticism is out there on Freud, because he didn't have the courage to confront his friends who were doctors and lawyers, and they were most likely writing out the check or whatever he got payment in. And I think that the theory is, feminists, as you know, disagree with that aspect of Freud, that he was in denial probably.
I'm going to go to Kay for a minute.
Okay.
It strikes me that you're actually illustrating what it is that I began the session with, which is that
That's why I was listening to you talk. It
you
kind of-
know rationally you're fine.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
you know,
I know I'm kind.
yes,
Yes, I know.
You're a
I'm
good
nice
person.
People like my company.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I like
But
people.
on
yes.
on this deeper level that is not rational,
Right.
that question still remains.
Yeah.
And so how does one part of the brain talk to the other part of the brain? How does the part that knows that you're really a good person, how does that talk to the brain that is still so wounded and took on all of that toxic material that was being given to you and identified as that toxic person that they...
Right. Well, what I did, I went to overachieve. So I tried to get really, really good at everything, so that I could prove to myself that I got this done and I'm good at that. So at any job, I would very much overachieve, and that didn't work out too well because the rational brain just just keeps at you. So it's a good question, Jane. I don't know. I just try to surround myself by good people, and I try to create family for myself, not of blood, but of choice.
Mhm.
And I try to, and sometimes I'll fantasize that I have a great family, and what I would like if I had my own children, what I'd like my family to be. And then I say to myself, if I had my own children, what would I tell a little kid when he says, "Mom, where's my uncle or my aunts or my cousins?" What could you tell a little child? You know?
You do have a great family.
Yeah, here we are.
I
Right.
just want to say I'm really
And there
sorry
there are
that
articles
your life
about.
started out like
Oh,
that.
thanks.
But I do want to say that it is possible to cultivate a different family.
Absolutely.
And that it
absolutely.
sounds much healthier in your case to
Yeah.
do that. And I think you're really on the right track. You're doing
Thank
an
you.
awful lot
Yeah,
of things right. But I'm so sorry that was the
Yeah,
beginning,
too.
that was your childhood.
And don't forget the adulthood.
Right.
Like I said,
It
abuse
carries
is a
over.
funny thing. People think just because you've been abused, it was just for that week or that year.
Right.
But no, this is something that goes on for a lifetime if it's
Scarred
not
for life.
confronted. And that is the horror of abuse.
And with
Whether
the
it's
two
physical.
the two sides of your brain communicating, it seems like the one that is rational, that you're really thinking with, is on track, and you're
Yes.
doing really well. But sometimes when you least expect it, the other one is there and it gets louder. And so to keep that side, just at bay the best you can, and to go on and become stronger with the other side, because I don't think you can control it, really. You just do the best you can with what you got.
But I felt safe here to get
Yeah.
emotional about it. I don't meet people at a bar, have a couple of drinks and start this and down this train. Like I said, I say I'm an orphan, I don't have any family, and I leave it at that. Because the first question, people are curious.
Right.
So where are you from? So how many brothers do you have? So how many nieces and nephews do you have? And for me to start that with people that I barely know is just, I think it's just too much for
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
So I say I'm an orphan.
We
and-
need to hear from Regan before we stop. We just have a few seconds left.
I don't have any words. I really just don't. I'm so confused and just like, I'm astonished that Carol spoke and said her thing, and now I feel so like I want to cry for Kay. So sad for her.
That's very empathic.
That's good.
I really don't like those people.
Yeah, we should collectively all,
Well, I had
Everyone in your
last
family.
week with a 31-year-old, and it was good.
wow.
We'll end on that.
We're gonna let Andres
Family,
end the
yeah.
session with something, whatever he wants to say about Lana and sex.
No, I was still being touched by it. I didn't even hear that. I didn't. 31-year-old, and now you said sex. So I was being touched by what you were saying and the pain that you were feeling, and then what Regan said about feeling it also. It's
Anna,
just-
could we just hate them for a minute? Just,
Yeah.
Like that was such a nice
We're
suggestion.
gonna hate them forever.
Okay.
Not just a minute. Thank you, guys.
Can I just say you're so not alone, and can you take any comfort from
Yes, I
that?
can.
Thank you.
That was to make
Great
everybody
session.
happy before Thanksgiving.
Come home